have Dr. Devin Busby, who is the VP of Clinical Strategy at IDGITAL, and he'll be presenting on AI-enabled radiology platforms. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces out there. So yeah, by way of introduction, my name is Devin Busby. I'm a physician by training, also picked up an MBA along the way. And I'm here today with John. John, you want to raise your hand? John, say hi. Eric, you want to raise your hand? Perfect. And Jan, you around, Jan? Jan's here for me. So the team of IDGITAL, and excited to tell you a little bit about what IDGITAL is doing to transform the way that radiology is practiced and to move radiology towards a practice structure of the future. So built into the DNA of IDGITAL is the core belief that healthcare can and must do better for patients. And we fundamentally believe that part of the answer to delivering better healthcare for our patients is to, in an intentional, calculated, and measured way, implement the leading technologies that make it easier for physicians to practice medicine. So we believe that technology can be the answer to taking practice structures and workflows and streamlining the way a physician practices medicine, reducing the amount of time that they spend on low value-added work, eliminating distractions, and reducing the prevalence of medical errors. We're committed at IDGITAL to ensuring that we can deliver the right diagnosis and the right treatment to the right patient at the right time, every time, and time after time. So how do we do it? So the first couple of questions are, why radiology, and who is IDGITAL anyways? So IDGITAL at its core is a Silicon Valley-based healthcare startup that is formed at the convergence of two worlds: leaders in radiology practice and leaders in technology innovation. On the one hand, you have leaders in clinical practice. These are individuals who have decades of experience in radiology and seeing the way that radiology is practiced. These are individuals who've led the transitions from film and light box-based radiology practice through the digitization of images, through teleradiology, and into today's world of integrated networks of physicians that deliver remote and facility-based care. So that's what you have on the one hand. On the other hand, you have leading technology innovators who know about things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, cloud-based infrastructure. And ultimately, we're bringing those two groups together to say, how can we deliver a premier radiology viewing and diagnostic experience for the physician? I was having a little trouble with the clicker here, but there we go. And we're not doing it alone. IDGITAL is partnering with the best institutions, leaders in different sectors of radiology, to be able to deliver on this promise of delivering better care to patients. Some of our strategic partners include Google, recognized leader in innovation and delivering best-in-class technology applications; Zasmic, which is a leading software development and design shop; Conrad, which is a leading teleradiology provider, has been our beta partner for rolling out and implementing and testing our technology; eUnity, which powers the zero-footprint viewer from which a radiology is actually reading the images; and MBMS, who's a leader in medical billing and coding. We have many of them represented here in the audience today. So the question is, how have we taken all these stakeholders and worked together to provide a next-generation experience for clinicians who are actually treating patients and making diagnoses on scans? So if we look at many of the key innovations and the transformative technological advances that have happened in radiology in the past several decades, what you see is there's been a tremendous amount of innovation at the modality level. So there's been a tremendous amount of innovation in the way that our MRIs work and our CT scanners work, and we're always getting better and higher quality images. And the innovation has been amazing on that front. In contrast, you see that there's been relatively little innovation in the way that a radiologist does his work, and how we can empower a radiologist to work at the top of their license and deliver the best radiology care that they can to every patient those images that they're seeing on their computer screen. And so we're working to solve that problem. And we do that by focusing on 3 simple goals. First goal, we try to link facilities to radiologists seamlessly with high reliability software that is almost never down. So when a radiologist needs to pull up the images on a patient, they can consistently and reliably have access to those images. Whether they're sitting in a facility, outside a facility, in the same state, in a different state, anywhere where they're practicing medicine, they can have access that's reliable to the images that they need. Number 2, our second goal is to support efficient radiology workflow. And we do this by taking the leading technology innovations and putting them at the fingertips of our clinicians. And third, we're working to optimize practice economics. So we understand at the end of the day, a physician didn't go to 4 years of undergraduate education, 4 years of medical school, 4 years of radiology residency, multiple extra years of fellowship to become an expert in medical billing and coding. We understand that their job is to deliver a diagnosis for a patient. And if we, as a technology provider, can facilitate the work that they need to do to optimize the economics, then we'll be enabling them to do what they do best, which is treat patients. What are the key enablers of our technology that enable us to do this? So 3 key enablers I want to talk about briefly. I want to mention all 3 and then we'll spend a lot of time focusing on number 3. So number 1, Digital leverages Google's cloud infrastructure. It's never down, it's reliable. I shouldn't say never down, it's almost never down. Very reliable. And it auto-scales with volume. So no more do you need to add physical infrastructure when the capacity constraints of your system are exceeded. The beauty of the cloud is that it auto-scales with the volume requirements that your practice has. Number 2, Digital's platform leverages Google's healthcare API. This brings all of the data that's necessary to treat the patient together in one centralized location and enables Digital users to connect seamlessly in an interoperable way to other Google Healthcare API providers. And number 3, we try to put at the fingertips of the radiologist value-added components of technology. So in our combined experience, we've had the opportunity to talk with thousands of radiologists over several decades. And one of the questions I like to ask radiologists when I talk with them is I say, hey, tell me about a technology that you use every day that you just love. Some technology that you just couldn't live without. And you know what the radiologists tell me? They'll mention their phone, some particularly snazzy app that they have that really simplifies their life, something about their car or about their house. You know what nobody mentions? Nobody mentions their radiology technology. Nobody says, oh, I just love my RIS. Like, I'm so in love with what my RIS does for me. Or, I love the packs that I have. Or, my VNA is super, super sleek, right? Or, I see you laughing out there. Nobody says these things about the radiology technology. Or, my voice dictation, my voice recognition is just awesome, right? I love it. And so, at Digital, in contrast, when you ask them specifically about what they think about their technology, they say just the opposite. They use words like clunky, antiquated, glitchy, laggy. Like there's so many words that they use to describe the experience that they have day in and day out with technology. And none of them define the premier experience that we'd like them to have as they read through scans. And so that's what we're trying to solve at Digital. We're trying to put at the fingertips of the radiologist those tools that enable them to describe their experience as best in class. This is a technology that I love. So I want to show you a couple of screenshots that come from some of the beta testing that we've done about technology. So what you're seeing here, this is labeled for Digital, but this could be white labeled with a practice or physician practice who we work with. But this is sort of the enterprise level view of the radiology professional services that are provided by a practice. And so if you were a practice manager or a practice administrator, you'd be able to see views like this that enable me to identify how am I doing as a practice or as a system across all of my sites. So I can look at capacity versus demand. I can look at how much work I have currently in flight, see how many emergent studies, how many urgent studies, how many routine studies are in flight, who they're assigned to. I can click into any of these and identify which are those studies and where are they in their progress. Then I can look at the top, getting a little feedback. I can look at the top 10 sources of delay by facility by system, by radiologist. And this enables me to identify quickly performance improvement opportunities for my practice. So this is a view of what a radiologist would see who's reading on our platform. At the top, you can see that they have their work list, and clicking into any one of these patients will automatically launch IDGITAL's zero footprint browser and enable you to begin to perform the read. It also launches our voice dictation software that enables you to begin to dictate the study. You can also see below a couple of neat gadgets that IDGITAL has implemented in the beta version of the application. This down here at the bottom left is a performed like a KPI tracker that would enable a radiologist to see how many reviews have I read this hour, this shift, today, over the past week, over the past month, year to date. And then we can configure that also to translate that into compensation where relevant for our partners. And then finally here on the bottom right, you have a system that enables for communication between radiologists and support staff. So that if there's problems with the study, needing priors, different issues that come up, they can communicate quickly and easily with support staff that can get them the help that they need. One more view. This is, again, another sort of practice administrator, operations manager kind of view. This would enable you as a practice manager to see what kind of work is coming through my platform, by gender, by age, by modality, by race. And we basically, on top of the imaging, the medical imaging data, we've layered underneath the ICD-10 coding that enables us to do analytics in real time and in a customizable way on all the data that's coming out of the practice. So I want to focus now, you've seen a little bit of the technology. I wanted to go back to the point I made earlier about how do we help a radiologist to just love the way that they practice medicine, love the tools that they have at their fingertips to be able to deliver the right diagnosis to the patient every time. And I want to talk about 5 tools. So tool number 1 is IDGITAL's best-in-class viewer. So we've partnered with eUnity to work with a viewer that is FDA approved for primary diagnosis across all relevant modalities, including mammography. And in essence, you can launch this browser directly from the work list, from the IDGITAL work list. And because it's a stateless integration and because it has automatic browser caching capabilities, it significantly reduces or eliminates lags and delays in pulling up images. In addition, as with any browser, it has the latest in imaging in processing technology, as well as annotations and markups that a radiologist can do on their text. Number 2, IDGITAL's digital assistant. So we're surrounded by smart devices in our day-to-day life. So for example, I can hop into my car and I can tell my car, navigate me to the nearest gas station. I can go home and I can say, hey, pull up my favorite Pandora music station. I can pull out my smartphone and I can say, call my mom, call my dad, call my wife, or text my brother, because my brother never answers my phone calls. But I can do all of that with my voice. And what IDGITAL's digital assistant is doing is bringing that technology to the radiology cockpit, to the radiology workstation. And so instead of just using your voice as a radiologist to dictate your reports, you can now use it to not only to dictate and sign reports, but also to request priors, search for relevant journal articles to the patient whose case you're reading, call referring physicians. So this is an assistant that takes a lot of the work that you have to do manually, and IDGITAL's digital assistant can run that work in the background while you continue to focus on reading the scan for your patient. 2 additional capabilities that we'll mention a little bit further on is alerting of radiologists of tagged studies that have a high probability of having positive findings and prioritizing these within their queue. And then number 2, providing coding nudges to help radiologists bill or collect the information that they need to collect so that we can bill and collect optimally for the work that they do. Number 3, intelligent case triaging. We talked a little bit about this on the last slide. How does it work? The idea of this is we want to deliver to the radiologist in a prioritized way those studies that need action as quickly as possible. And if a radiologist so desires, to be able to indicate which studies have a high probability of positive findings. So it works through 4 simple steps. Images that are collected from the modality are routed to artificial intelligence algorithms. Those that have a high they're all tagged according to their probability of having positive findings. And those that reach a certain threshold are tagged either silently or explicitly as having a high probability of positive findings. In step 3, IDGITAL's platform can push those studies preferentially to the top of a radiologist's queue, so the patient who's most likely to need treatment now can get treatment now. And number 4, the radiologist then reviews those studies, confirms or not the finding that was identified through artificial intelligence, and signs and finalizes the reports. Additionally, because IDGITAL is built on the Google Healthcare API, that integration and interoperability allows an IDGITAL user to connect with algorithms that have been developed not just by IDGITAL, but by other Google Healthcare API-based partners. Number 4, ICD-10 coding optimizer IDGITAL widget. So unfortunately, one of the things that has crept into the practice of radiology is this idea of addending reports and having a radiologist go back and look at work that they've done in the past to review it so that we can optimally bill and code for that work. And IDGITAL is doing all that we can to eliminate that process. It's costly, radiologists don't like it, it really interferes with them having a good experience. So how do we do that? IDGITAL's technology in real time will look at the report that a radiologist is dictating and indicate to a radiologist, nudge them when additional information or support is needed or different descriptions are needed in order for a study to be billed and coded for, essentially significantly reducing or eliminating the rework that has to be done on the back end. Number 5, practice analytics, reporting, research, and big data. So, as we mentioned before, because we're built upon Google's infrastructure on the healthcare API, we're bringing all of the data about the patient into one centralized location, enabling real-time, customized, on-demand analytics of that patient data that enables practice administrators and researchers to identify opportunities for improvement, opportunities for advancement. A couple quick words about economics and how implementing IDGITAL's platform can be economically advantageous to practices. So there's 3 major benefits that come from implementing IDGITAL. Number 1 is cost reduction. Our model is a software as a service platform that replaces many of the individual modular components that a radiology practice needs: voice recognition, long-term storage, system upgrades, etc. Number 2, by implementing IDGITAL's system, radiologists will be more effective and more efficient and more productive in the work that they do every day. And number 3, increased margins. We talked about the ability to optimize for ICD-10 coding and optimize a radiologist report for billing. We've seen, our experience indicates that could lead to 10 to 15% improvements in profitability for practices on average. So taking a step back, the technology that we see at this conference, or that's in use every day around us, is decades ahead of the technology that we're using to treat patients in radiology. And our patients deserve better, our physicians deserve better, healthcare deserves better. In IDGITAL, we are committed to the mission of using technology to deliver a better experience for the physician and for the patient. Much of this conference is focused on the theme of technology and innovation, how technology is going to drive, or is currently driving, the way that we're practicing medicine, practicing radiology, and how it will continue to drive improvements into the future. In that spirit, it's our pleasure to announce that IDGITAL will complete its beta testing by the end of this year, December 31st, 2018, and will be ready for clinical use and use in production by January 15th of 2019. And we thank you for your time, and we hope that as we launch in 2019, you will partner with us in striving to deliver the best possible care to patients and the optimal experience to radiologists. Thank you.